Trump has a statement out right now. He says this, quote, "Number one, it was declassified. Number two, they didn't need to seize anything." New statement 7 minutes ago. "They could have had it anytime they wanted without playing politics and breaking into Mar-A-Lago. It was in secured storage with an additional lock put on as per their request." That's kind of interesting. He adds, "They could have had it anytime they wanted, and that includes long ago. All they had to do was ask. The bigger problem is, what are they going to do with the 33 million pages of documents, many of which are classified, that President Obama took to Chicago?" Actually, that's not a bad point that he makes. That's an actual legitimate thing. The deal that Obama's people had when he left office, Washington Post wrote about this, and so did the New York Post. The deal apparently was that they were being digitized because he's having his presidential library created in Chicago, and there was a whole bunch of controversy over the architecture of it and, you know, how much land it took and the park and all this stuff. That's not the point. The point is that the response from his lawyers, as I understand it, Miranda Devine, I believe, let me pull this up, had the story that they were going to digitize all of this for the National Archives, and it was never done. Hasn't even been done yet. It's never done. So that's, I think, a legitimate thing to bring. That's a legitimate point. So, I mean, you kind of have to wonder why there was that difference in treatment, you know? So I don't know, but he says, and I also just don't understand the breakdown from the initial meeting with the FBI and the feds, etc., and their attorneys and Trump's attorneys. I mean, we had it as a headline. I didn't even actually. Kane, I remember this because when I went to look in my bookmarking system, I was pulling all this stuff up. We had these headlines for like my quick five, and they were just little things. You know, he's meeting with them about National Archive stuff, and it was just like, it's like, here's a headline that's like customary. So how did it go from that to this? That's what I think the question that we would all like to know. I mean, how many other sensitive documents do presidents have, in their possession? The Clintons got in a lot of trouble because they took a lot of stuff when they left. Remember, they were taking furniture and letters and all kinds of stuff. And I will say this. This is kind of what it looks like to me at this point. I don't think that there's any way. One thing that seems certain is that the way that the DOJ and the FBI went about this was entirely inexcusable. Your politics should not dictate your position on that. Because measure how you would feel if the political affiliation of the individual involved was different. Someone that you were more amenable to. I don't think it is up for debate that it was inexcusable how it was handled, because it's a mess now. And the DOJ made it messier because they started leaking. They started leaking to the Wall Street or to the Washington Post. They started leaking to Newsweek. Right when Merrick Garland, one of the links that I gave you all, that I put in the email for our subscribers for my daily radio prep, and I was compiling it after radio. After he gave his statement, not even 45 minutes, the story from WAPO hit. It was another leak from DOJ. I even put it in the prep. They made it even worse because they started leaking all this information, and then you had leaks going to Newsweek trying to absolve Garland and go at Wray, and then that was wrong. And then you had other leaks that were saying that they acted like time was of the essence. That wasn't the exact language that they used, but they were saying that it was an incredibly important, urgent, and that's why they needed to act with the speed that they did. And then you have, they waited 18 months though. And then at first it was documents that had to do with the National Archives. And then now it's like nuclear material. I mean, I'm really confused about this. I'm confused. Right? I don't know. What? Any thoughts?
My initial thought has been the same since the beginning of this, back on the 8th when we heard all about it. They have not been able to legally destroy him, right? They legally have been challenging him ever since he was president with 2 impeachments, Russia collusion, you name it. They've been trying to legally destroy him. They haven't been able to because he hasn't done anything illegal. But now they want to politically destroy him. This is how afraid they are of him, in my opinion.
Well, and see, that's so we talked about that. Not to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me get your response to this. So after Trump beat Hillary Clinton, did they give her life by constantly hitting her? I mean, you could say, oh, they did lock her up. That was during the campaign, though. But throughout his presidency, did you hear him constantly refer to her in every single speech and get people to, and with the media constantly? They did not. She just sort of faded into, at least electoral obscurity, to where any, approval that she had dissipated afterwards. So if they were so afraid of him, why the hell did they give him an injection of adrenaline and solidify everybody rallying around him?
Well, I think in Hillary's case, it was beneficial to her to be out of the face of the media. Because of all of what she had just went through with the Benghazi and her
what difference
her emails that she literally took hammers to and bleach bit to, and after they were subpoenaed, they were destroyed. That's clearly obstruction of justice. James Comey overlooked it, and it's just a sad state of affairs. But it was more beneficial for Hillary to be out of the face of the media during that time, and Trump did not. And by the way, she was also claiming that it was a stolen election. Remember when after 2016 and she lost, that was her thing, was to go out and say it was
not just hers,
election.
Nancy Pelosi,
the
and
entire
left's
else. Thing, yeah. So
here's the other question. I really feel like at this point, it's kind of one or two things. There's going to be a major consequence at some point. I can't imagine Garland indicting him. I can't imagine, not indicting, it would be the jury. I can't imagine charges being brought with anything related to the Presidential Records Act. That would be just stupid considering the precedent we've talked about previously with the Clintons and Obama. But either they're going to charge him, or what's going to happen is they're going to take someone who was actually incredibly hesitant from everything that I've heard from people. He was he was pretty hesitant about running again. They're going to make it to where he runs again. I mean, I think one of the two things are going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also I know that if they had something as damning as being able to charge him, A, they would have already done it, and B, that would be the dominating narrative. Mm. And as we see it, it is not. It is about these quote-unquote classified documents. It's about the quote-unquote boxes of documentation. We are still in the dark almost 100% on what's happened at Mar-A-Lago, and I think that's by design.